Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 177.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello, surprise, boom, etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you, don't ask stupid questions, and don't wander off.
How can you kid this? I don't like the colour.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yes, indeedy.
Yes.
Welcome to 177. Any new subscribers, any new listeners? Welcome aboard. Myself, my good friend Adam are here every Friday, giving you the latest in Doctor Who news and merch. And we give you a review each week of either a modern episode or a classic story. This week it's classic, bit of Fourth Doctor action this week.
Bit of Tom.
A little bit of Tom. A little bit of Leela.
A little bit of Leela.
A little bit of Leela and a bit of Tom. Yes. So we've had a good week. How about you, buddy? You've been up to anything cool?
I have been, yes. Yeah, I have actually done some Doctor Who stuff this week for a change. Yeah.
Nice.
Started off last week, actually. I watched, I was really in the mood for Tom Baker, actually. It's because I knew we were doing a Tom Baker story this week, and I normally watch it like on the Monday, Tuesday before we record. And I was thinking, shall I watch it early and just think, hope I remember it, or shall I watch another Tom first? So someone had been talking to me about Revenge of the Cybermen in the week. Yeah. My good friend Will, he was talking about the Cybermen voices and how rubbish they were and stuff, and I was like, Revenge of the Cybermen, haven't watched that. So I thought I'd give that a watch because I remembered watching it as a kid and stuff, and I wanted to sort of see if it lived up to the memory stuff. I won't say too much because we haven't reviewed it yet, but it was really good to get an extra slice of Tom Baker in the week before this week's review.
There's always room for more Tom.
There's always room for Tom. Yeah. I don't know. I just was really in the mood. I was just like, like you often get that Seventh Doctor thing. You're like, I need some McCoy on the TV tonight. I was like that with Baker. So I watched that last week. And then on the Saturday, I went up to London to meet up with the Who Addicts guys and our good friend Adam, the Ultimate Whovian.
The Ultimate.
They went on a bit of a shop. And I got to meet one of our listeners. I went to, because, we did the usual stuff. I went to FP, Bit Planet, bought some few bits in there. And then I went to, the stamp centre on the Strand. It's called Sci-Fi Collector / Stamp Centre. So I went into there because there was a figure set I really wanted the last time I was in there, and I didn't buy it. And then I went back home and couldn't find it online anywhere, which was Leela and Store, Sontaran.
Okay.
So I thought, I'm going to go there. I haven't been there for ages. If they've still got it, whatever the price, I'm going to get it because I really regretted not getting it. So I go in there. They've got one on the shelf. I'm very pleased. Paint job's okay. And I was chatting to the guy who works behind there, and we were talking about Doctor Who merch, and they used to have loads. They do a lot of autographs, and they've still got quite a bit of Doctor Who merch, but they used to have a lot more. And he was just saying about how it's really waned off over the years, and they're hoping it's going to be a resurgence with the new Doctor and stuff. But he was also saying, I listened to your podcast in the bath. And I was like, oh, really? So if you ever hear of anyone being electrocuted, I was like, listening to a podcast in the bath, it's probably me. So I was like, Death by Podcast. So if you're listening, Reese, hello. It was good to chat to you. But it was really good. We were talking about, they used to have signings and stuff in there. And we were talking about when Tom Baker did quite a few signings there over the years and stuff with different people. And they were just sort of talking about trying to get more people to do signings there and the difficulties of the pricing and that sort of stuff. So that was really cool. And I got my figure set, so I was quite happy. So yeah, good old day in London. So got a figure set, got in a bit of extra slice of Doctor Who.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it's all really good. So, SP is just FP. Nothing, the usual.
Yeah, so I was in there last week. It was half-term week last week, so I took the lad into London.
It was busy.
Yeah, very busy. So after we hit a few museums, obviously a bit of FP in the afternoon.
Mm.
And it was absolutely packed in there. Absolutely packed, yeah. But you have to go there. Whenever you're in, especially that area of London, you have to go and sort of poke your head in and see what's going on.
Exactly. And it's funny because me and Ad were like, I feel like I've, because you've been in FP with me before. When if I've wanted to buy a pop, I have to look at every single one to find the perfect, because we all know that the paint apps on Funko Pops are very hit and miss.
Inconsistent, to say the least. Yeah.
And me and Ad saw this this David Bowie from Labyrinth pop, and he had this sparkly jacket, and Ad had just picked the first one off the shelf and hadn't thought anything of it. And then I was like looking at him going, but look, that one's got, the cape's a bit yellow. So he's like, is it? And then the both of us were like, and I was like, oh no, I've transferred my OCD to Ad in the space until we were both stood there looking at all the, there's about 10 of them on the shelf. I don't think neither of us bought it in the end. I think we spent about 20 minutes picking the perfect one, and then went, because I suddenly added up what I'd got in my basket and was like, actually, I'm going to have to put him back because I can't afford it. So he went back, and then Ad was like, yeah, I think I'll get him next time. And he went back on the shelf. So there's two Bowie Funkos waiting to be bought next time we go there.
I read you.
They won't be there.
Yes. That's the reason why I always dread buying the Funko Pops online, because it's a lottery, because you've got no control, have you? You're at the mercy of, them just picking one.
Exactly
from the 1,000 pile and posting it out. But yeah, it's always one of those things where it's not too much. I mean, we're only talking about the average price is like £11 for so we're not talking about high cost collectibles here, but there is that little bit of you that's just disappointed when you open it and you think, oh look, because on some of the Doctor Who ones, especially the 10th Doctor range, it's the paint on the hair that can be a little bit hit and miss on that range. And I've got one on the shelf where like the brown paint that's sort of on his sideburn around his ear on one side is just completely sort of not, on the hair sculpt bit. Yeah. And it just looks terrible. And I think, but then you can't, like I said, you can't go too sort of, it's first world problems here, but you can't go too mad with it because it's only a tenner, Funko Pop.
Oh, I know what I mean, but I'm sure anyone that's bought Funkos knows exactly what we're talking about, because I bought the Back to the Future DeLorean with Marty in it Funko set online, and when it arrived, it's got this big paint splodge in the middle of the windscreen, and I mean, it's just so obvious, and it bugs me every time I look at it, because I look at it and think, that would have been so easy to like sort out in the factory. How did that get through? I guess they're just so mass produced. I don't know, but things like that are really annoying, because I literally, if I look at that Funko on my shelf, I just look straight at the big smudge on the window every time. It really bugs me. I was thinking, I wish I just got it in the shop now. But it's a bit like the black hole Funko Pop I bought when I was with you the other week. I spent ages finding the perfect Vincent. And there was about 5 on the shelf, and it was the eyes. The eyes are really bad on most of them. There was one where they were decent. I thought, right, well, I'll get that one. And then when I took him out the box, like on the side of his, his head was a great big mark. And I was thinking, no, I spent blimmin' ages checking them all. But the thing was, as I said, all the others, there's defects on all of them, really, isn't it? But it's just so annoying when you actually get it out of the box and there's something you couldn't have possibly seen until you took it out, and it's like, oh no.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But then again, you get what you pay for. We are talking about $9.99's worth of.
Exactly.
So you can't be too critical.
We were looking at the Dr. Men figures, and they'd only got one. They'd only got one left on the shelf, but they'd got about 20 copies of it. Of the Dr. Men figures, and it was Dr. 11, and I was saying, I'm not surprised that they've got loads of them left, because he looks rubbish, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Dr. 11. Yeah. I quite like Dr. 4 and Dr. 1, but 11 and 12 just look rubbish. But they didn't have any. They just got about 20 Doctor 11's on the shelf, and the others had all sold. So
right, yeah, I've got 4 and 1. I think they're my fave.
They're the best two. Yeah, the other ones just
yeah.
I will get a Doctor 6 though if they do one, just because it's that Colin. It's just the pink blob.
The blob, yeah. It's just
I will get the blob.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We didn't hear back from anybody regarding do we think it's a monocle on, which one was it? The 5th Doctor, is it?
Doctor 3.
Oh, 3, sorry, that's right. Yeah, the Pertwee figure. We're still not sure, are we, if it's a monocle?
Well, me and Ad had a good look at it in FP on Saturday, and we are convinced it's supposed to be a monocle.
Oh, right.
And we don't know why, because we can't remember the Third Doctor having a monocle in any story. We could be wrong, because he was quite gadgety, wasn't he? But I know maybe he had one of those eye things before, but like an eye telescope thingy, one of those little things. But don't remember the Third Doctor wearing a monocle, so we're a little bit confused by that.
Yeah, and even if he did, because I've seen, like you, we've seen all the Pertwee stories, and I can't remember an episode where a monocle features.
No.
And even if we've forgotten, it must be such a minor, tiny little scene somewhere. That's not probably, enough to warrant having it on a figure, if that makes sense. It's not a big sort of, you wouldn't associate a monocle with the Third Doctor. So it seems strange that they would do that, but.
It does seem like an error. I'm trying to think, because I've just got the book and I've only flicked through it, but I'm trying to think if it's part of the story or something, maybe.
Yeah,
but
possibly. Yeah,
could be. But I don't know. I think they may have got the first and third mixed up, but not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
good for you, mate. Quiet for me though.
Quiet in the
quiet
box household.
Yeah, so I went to FP end of last week. With the boy, as I said, that was okay. Picked up a couple of bits there, nothing Doctor Who related, but
no,
a few other bits. I've watched a couple of classics though. So, like you, this is completely it's coincidence. It wasn't planned, but I was in the mood for some Tom, so I stuck on Robots.
Oh, really?
The first one, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I thought, I'm just in the mood. Sometimes I just wave my finger along the shelf, close my eyes, and stop. But for some reason, like when you just like you said, you're in the mood for a certain type of classic. So I shoved that on. Also watched The Web of Fear as well.
Oh,
just because it's it's roughly kind of 50 years that we first saw the brig in that story. So I thought that was a fitting time to drag that out and give that another watch.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we have reviewed that, haven't we?
We have. Don't worry. You can speak freely.
So I'm so guarded. Yeah, I'm so guarded what I'm saying. But yeah, I thought we had. It's a good one. I wonder if they're going to reissue it. Actually, another thing me and Ad were talking about on Saturday is with Enemy of the World getting a reissue. We were just wondering if Web of Fear is going to follow it, because like you said, it's again almost anniversary year. So it's interesting because obviously part 3 is missing still, isn't it? And it's telesnaps on the DVD. And there was rumours at the time that they had found it, but it was in such bad quality that they couldn't use it. Now, I don't know how true that is. It's it may not be true at all. But I was saying to Ad, obviously we've had a few years now. If that is true, maybe they've managed to do something with it, with today's technology. So, yeah, I'd be quite happy if it got reissued. Actually, I'd love to see episode 3.
Yeah.
Love to see it complete.
That'd be cool. I really like Web of Fear. It's a great. I love that story. And we reviewed it way back. Episode 24.
Oh, really? Yeah. That far back? Remind me.
Sound like Rick then. Way back, Adam.
Way back.
We've got it way back, Morty. Yeah, so episode 24. Crikey, I don't even know when that was. Yeah, 2015 sometime. But,
you talking about Tom Baker's just reminded me as well. Did you see that the Blu-ray set that we'd seen rumoured, the complete... it's season 12, isn't it?
Yes.
Tom Baker's first season.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you hate that word, series. Is actually coming out on Blu-ray, but only in the US. But I'm looking forward to seeing the packaging and stuff, because I've got a feeling it's going to be like your Seventh Doctor, like that nice table book. That's what I'm imagining. Because there's lots of things going around about, well, are they upscaling the picture? How are they going to do it? And it's a shame it's not coming over here to the UK as far as we know. But yeah, but it is true, because as I said, you found it, didn't you, on a website, and then it was sort of mysteriously vanished.
That's right. Yeah.
Pre-sale, and now it's back up again, I believe.
Yeah. So over in the US, the big retail giant over there, Best Buy.
That's it.
They created a SKU and put a link up on their website for it, but then it was taken down quite quickly afterwards. And but yeah, it's an interesting subject though. We could probably talk about this for a long time, but I'm always dubious about the classic stuff being released on Blu-ray and high def formats, because obviously the resolution's better, but all you can do really is upscale the picture. You can't really do much with, unless we're talking about Spearhead, where it was made on proper film stock, where you've got the ability to do a proper HD release. The rest of it is just like the old school film, the old TV film stuff, which is, okay for its time, but when you're trying to do HD stuff with it, you can't really, you're in a bit of a corner with it. So I'm not sure how I feel about it at the minute, but it
tends to highlight the problems more than actually enhance them, doesn't it? It tends to sort of actually show up the picture for the quality. I don't know. I mean, if we get more news on it and stuff, we'll probably talk about it more. But yeah, I was just intrigued to see that it is actually a real thing that's coming out. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but
later
it is
in
a
the
thing.
year, apparently.
Blu-ray release. Yeah.
But yeah, it's anyone that has listened to me talk about Red Dwarf before, that I'm a big Red Dwarf fan, and they're having a similar thing where they're releasing, I think, the first 6 series of Red Dwarf on Blu-ray in a few months' time, and that was like the first series of Red Dwarf came out in 1988, I think it was, or 87.
Around that, yeah.
And the first few series of that, well, up to series 5 or 6, that was all done on standard old film stock for TV. So not film stock, the old TV tapes.
Yeah.
So, and I think the producer, Doug Naylor, the creator and producer of that, actually told them to abandon that project a couple of years ago because he said, look, the picture's just, we're not getting anything out of it. It just looks dreadful.
Yeah.
But apparently they've managed to do something with it and he's a lot happier. So that's coming to Blu-ray. So
really?
Yeah. So there are options, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know. Classic Who just doesn't seem to fit unless they did like an epic, massive box set that was like 500 quid. That was like, all of Tom Baker's stuff.
I mean, that's the thing.
That'd be awesome.
It's not, I can't see it benefiting very much from Blu-ray, but I'm totally up for complete series box sets. I would love to see that. I'm absolutely all for that. So, if they did the complete series 12, that's great. I don't really care if it's on DVD or Blu-ray, because like you just said, I don't think you're going to see much in terms of restoration. But anyway, I don't know if we get more news on it, which we probably will, we'll discuss it more, but I'm kind of excited about it. I know, as I said, it's not a UK release, so I doubt we'll get it over here. I'm just wondering if your good friend Lee Binding's doing the cover though, because a few weeks ago, he posted a little tiny picture of a paintbrush over, you could just see Tom Baker's face underneath it. Yeah. And I thought, now what's that hinting at?
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I'm only putting 2 and 2 together here, but yeah, I'm just wondering if that might be something, because I really like his stuff. He's done the Enemy of the World cover, the new one, didn't he? So yes, we shall see.
We shall see. Watch this
I'm sure
space.
Dalek Tats will have it on his tray if it becomes a thing.
Of course, yeah. Yes. Anyways, we've waffled for long enough.
Yes, we have.
Shall we land the TARDIS and do a bit of news?
Bit of news.
First up, and the only bit of news we have, and it's only something small, so 20 seconds we'll be moving on. But Doctor Who has got a whole brand new look and feel.
Yeah.
So yesterday, the Beeb dropped the bombshell. That is the new logo and colour scheme and all that stuff for the new show that kicks off in October.
Yeah, October. Oh,
ages away.
Feels like it.
Yeah. Right, so it was released by BBC Worldwide, by the way.
Yeah.
Not the Beeb as in the British BBC. But so it's a new funky logo out with the big, bulky, chunky, bold logo that we've had for the past few years now, since Matt Smith took over. And we've gone back to the very thin, light, goldy kind of look and feel that we had. So, when Eccleston brought the show back with RTD, we had that kind of, I don't know what shape you would call that. It's like an eyelid, very thin. Yeah,
that's a good way
eyelid
of
sort of shape, with very thin font and hues and stuff like that. So we've gone back to that kind of thing. The chunky looks out, and it's like a stylized gold looking font, and they've released it as part of a couple of sort of image releases as well. So the main one that's doing around is sort of the twilight out in the countryside with the silhouette of Jodie with the TARDIS in the background and so on, with the sun setting. It looks very, very fantasy storybook like. So I've got an opinion on this, mate, but I want to get yours first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I don't know your opinion on it because you've been very good and you haven't said, whereas I went and blurted it straight out. So you probably know that I actually really like it. It's kind of, I can see why a lot of people are saying it's a bit Merlin. And I can totally see where they're coming from with that.
Yep.
And it is quite simple, isn't it? I think people were perhaps hoping for something a bit more innovative, something a bit wow. This is quite simple and scaled back. I don't know. In terms of the promo they released, I'm really liking it because they released a little 7-second sort of video of the TARDIS shooting through, I don't know what it is, through the sky, and then the new font is revealed and stuff, and I really liked that, and I've watched it loads because you sort of get this mix of music and sound effect, and I'm thinking now, is that a little teaser of the new theme? Because it sounds a little bit like
it does.
It could be a little snippet of the new theme, and if it is, I'm liking what I'm hearing because it sounds quite electronic to me. And I'm also wondering if this is an indication of what the new intro might look like, because it's
possibly.
It looks like they've spent a little bit of money on it for a short clip. So yeah, in terms of the little teaser we got, and in terms of the picture of Jodie looking at the TARDIS on a hillside with the new branding, for me it's all working. I'm liking what I see. Not what I was expecting, but I'm liking it. Yeah. So that's what I think. What about you?
Yes, I don't like it.
I didn't think you did. I don't know why. I just got this impression from. Yeah, I just got this feeling you wouldn't like it. What? Tell me why you don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm guaranteed to be in the minority here. I'm aware of that. But to me, it looks unfinished.
Unfinished. Okay,
it is my biggest sort of hang up with it. And don't get me wrong, I love the fact that we have a new logo and that we have a change of direction and it's all new and shiny. I love that. That it's the same thing happened when the Moff and Matt Smith came in. All the look and feel and everything changed. And it was good. It was needed, and even more so, it's needed now, I would say. However, I just don't like the. It looks to me like a rough mock-up that the agency have sent over. It feels to me like they've done maybe 20 different versions of it, and this isn't the final one. This is like, if I was at BBC Worldwide, I'd be like, I like the direction, but go away and finish it, and then we'll talk. But so. I hate. I know I'm going to come under fire for this. I'm fully aware, but I just don't like it. I don't like the style. It feels too generic to me. We're venturing into the same problem that I found with Class, and that is this. If you were to take the BBC logo away, this to me looks like a fan made. This to me looks like any other logo and picture that 1,000 other fan Doctor Who artists have made over the years. It doesn't associate, anything to do with Doctor Who, because in the same way that the original one didn't, but that was slightly different because in 2005 they just needed a new logo. So that they had nothing else to base it on. They couldn't really use the classic logo because they needed to be new and fresh. But with the old logo, the Moff era logo, I quite like that because they used the D and the W to make the TARDIS shape, and you could associate it immediately with something from Doctor Who. In that case, it was the TARDIS. But in this case, that if you change the words, that could be any sci-fi film or any sci-fi TV show. You could use that for anything. It doesn't seem unique enough to Doctor Who, for me anyway.
I can kind of see where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the logo now. I've got it on my screen in front of me. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I don't know. I suppose I'm just looking at the overall thing, really. Because did you not even like the little 7-second intro, the thing?
Yes, I like that. Yeah.
You like that? Cool. Yeah, because I'm thinking that would give you an idea how it might look on screen and stuff. Because I know some of the branding that's come out, official branding since this, has showed it, this particular logo, but in different. So in other words, I've seen it just simply in black and white.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen that. And I thought that looked really classy. I was like, okay, I really like that. I don't know. I can see it working, but I can see what you're saying. It is quite simple. It's quite basic, isn't it? It's nothing, like I said, there's nothing innovative. That's not a word, but yeah, there's nothing outstanding about it. But maybe that's why I like it. I don't know. I like the colouring and everything, and it's working for me. But I do get what you're saying.
I see what you mean, and don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going back to basics and keeping it simple, because sometimes that's what that's what you need to do. And also, the whole thing feels like, I love the visual direction they're going for. It's very much got this. It looks like a book cover. It's got this story.
It does actually
storybook fantasy thing. It almost looks a bit like a Roald Dahl kind of story vibe to it. It's got that very much. Because I got the feeling over the past few years that the visual marketing side of things was very serious for Doctor Who.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So they went through a phase of doing these like movie style posters. Which were quite cool, but other than that, you get the feeling that it was quite serious. Whereas this feels like, this like we're off on a new adventure here. This looks really cool.
It does feel fresh. I mean, I must admit, I was pleased to see on my Twitter feed. I think the majority of the reaction that I got back was positive, and I thought, wow, this is wow, Doctor Who fandom being positive, fantastic. I did speak to one of my friends this morning, actually, who doesn't like it. And I was saying to him, what don't you like? And he's like, well, for a start, I hate the fact they put the female symbol in the word Who. Right. He says, and the only reason I hate it is because I think they think they're being really clever doing that. And I he just felt it was a bit OTT, like sort of, really hammering home the point is what he was saying. Now, it doesn't bother me at all, but I can see that it's a very obvious thing, isn't it? That's clearly what they've done there. But yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I can see what he's getting at. I didn't notice it at the time. It had to be pointed out to me, and as soon as it was pointed out, I was like, oh yeah, okay. Is there a word for it? Is it just?
It feels a bit a bit sneaky. It feels a bit sneaky to me. Like they've put it in there. Because it's obviously that's the shape, isn't it? That's what they were. It's
pretty obvious when you look at it. Yeah.
So it does feel a bit sneaky. But on the other hand, it doesn't bother me too much. I'm not.
No.
The thing that bothers me more about the logo in general is that the W in the word Who is not capitalized.
In the word. Oh right. Oh no.
So the beginning letter, the D at the beginning of Doctor, is slightly larger than the other letters.
I hadn't noticed that. You're absolutely right.
So the W is just the standard size.
No, I wish you hadn't told me that.
So
things like that bug me.
So that's what I'm saying. If I was at BBC Worldwide, I'd be like, well, this is good, but it's not quite finished. So go back and polish the details, and we'll have another look. So it doesn't look like Doctor Who. It just looks like Doctor Who.
You've ruined it for me. I hate stuff like that.
Well,
I really do, and now I can't unsee it.
As a designer, I can you get to notice all these details in things, you see, when you work in design.
Why isn't it as capital?
It should be. Absolutely should be. Yeah.
Things like that really bug me. I know it's stupid, but now you've told me that, I'm looking at it thinking, why isn't it a capital W on Who? Is it to emphasise the fact they've given it a funny H and the female symbol O?
Yeah, I think so. I think because the H looks a bit funky, doesn't it? They've moved the vertical bars of the H to make it look a bit funky. So maybe having a capital W would make it a bit too busy, possibly. But that just that's going
to bug me.
Yeah, when I noticed that after a few seconds, I was like, oh no. And please, listeners, do tell if you disagree or about this capital W here. But I absolutely think it should be a capital, without a doubt.
Oh, it should be, yeah. I'm just trying to find on my... Did you see... Who was it? I think it was Stuart Manning who did the Doctor Who posters for the 12th Doctor. He did I think it was one that maybe he submitted as an entry, but it obviously wasn't accepted. Did you see his version of it? Because that was quite chunky. I'm just seeing if I can quickly find it while we're on air, because it sounds like you might have preferred his. Is it Stuart Manning? He's the guy who did like the posters for...
Yeah, I think... that kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, here it is. So he said that he posted on Twitter. So he said, here's the design he did back in the summer.
Yeah.
And what do you think of his design? Because I quite like it as well.
Yeah, I really like it. It's that...
very much bolder. It's
a lot bolder. And the Doctor Who is made up of shapes rather than an actual font. And I like it because it's got... I'm getting a bit techie here with design, but the letter O in the word Who and the smaller O's in the Doctor, they look like the classic logo O's.
It's definitely more classic. If anybody wants to see it, just go to Stuart_Manning, I think his name is, on Twitter, and he's put it in there.
Yeah.
It is nice, and it's definitely more classic feel. But I don't know. Personally, I think I prefer this one, although I'm now hating the W. But yeah, I think that's probably more the sort of thing you were expecting. Then is it that you'd prefer something a bit bolder like that?
Yeah, I would just like something a bit more. I think what I'm trying to say is I'd like something where the logo sort of hints at something that's part of Doctor Who. Whether you include like a little graphical thing that makes it one of the letters or something look like, the TARDIS or Sonic or Roundels or a classic film, whatever it might be, just link the logo so that it doesn't matter if you're walking past Forbidden Planet and see something in the window or you see a magazine cover, whatever it might be, even if you just glance at it in a split second as you're walking by, there's something, a little tiny leaning towards something from Doctor Who. Because when you use a font like this, like I said, it feels too generic to me. It feels like you could apply that same logo and change the words and it could be, I don't know, whatever sci-fi program that's been out over the years.
I get the Merlin. Yeah, I get the Merlin comparison. I totally get that because it's kind of a fire colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, so this was because we've been hearing rumours that we're going to get this new logo for a couple of weeks, and I didn't think we'd get it this soon, but it's because they did a branding thing to over 700 of the world's top TV buyers, like a press conference thing yesterday, which Jodie and Chris were at with the TARDIS. Got to say, the new TARDIS is really growing on me, actually. The more I see it, the more I'm loving it. So that's quite interesting as well. So it's I'm assuming you probably know more about this sort of thing. So I'm assuming they were there to pitch it to these TV buyers, I guess, to say, here's a little trailer, here's what the show's going to be about. So I'm wondering what they made of it, like these important people that they were trying to sell the show to, because obviously they're trying to get it back to being mainstream again.
That's right, yeah. So Jodie and Chibbers were absolutely needed at this event.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was at the NEC, wasn't it? It was quite a big thing.
Oh, was it? I don't know where it was, actually, because it was very top secret. And again, I love the fact that Chibnall's managing to keep all of this under wraps. I saw, this Twitter group that posts spoilers. I'm not going to say the name, but you know the one, and a lot of our listeners will. They was moaning about the fact that they'd were posting pictures from it or got pictures, and they were immediately being removed. They were like, how are they even doing this? Like, as soon as he put them up, they're being taken down. I thought, well, I'm quite pleased about that. Actually, I'll be honest with you. It really brings home that Chibnall is managing to keep tight wraps on it and just letting out enough to keep us really intrigued, I think.
Yeah, no, it was. No, it looked like a good event. I think Jodie gave it her best shot. I think she came across as like very enthusiastic and excited about it, and Chibbers was basically laying the groundwork, saying how amazing it's all going to be. Because normally you don't get that size of event when you're selling to overseas broadcasters. It's normally slightly smaller, but I think because the ratings have been not where the BBC wanted them to be over the last few years, I think it's important for them to really put on their salespeople hats and really sell it and just say, look, it's going to be new, fantastic, brilliant. And everything is new, everything is new, because over the last few years, I don't know what agency it was. I think they were called Milk, like the special effects agency that were based in Wales.
Oh, the Mill.
The Mill and Milk VFX, I think, as well. They've been ditched. So there's a brand new visual effects company that's going to be doing everything now from Series 11. So maybe as well we're going to get past some episodes looking like they were done on a college student's After Effects Windows machine. And I don't know, but it was really good for them to just say, look, this is a brand new era, literally everything. And we still haven't had the final word on Murray Gold either, but that seems to be a given.
Oh no, didn't he say it? Hasn't he announced it Gallifrey 1 literally yesterday?
Oh, I haven't seen it. Right.
I think. Well, I don't know actually. I saw something on Twitter and I just kind of flicked through it because I was like, yeah, we all knew. But I think our listeners will probably know. I think he's actually officially announced it at Gallifrey 1 that he's off.
Right. Well, that's what I thought. Yeah, that was pretty much. But
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even bother reading it because I was just like, we all, old news. Yeah. But I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think he has said finally he's off.
Right. So. Okay. So this is like the final, for me, this is the new logo and branding is like the final sort of brick in the wall, if you like, to say that, a different doctor, different showrunner, Murray's gone, so we're going to have new music, new cameras for the cinematic look. We've got a new special effects company. We're filming outside of Wales again. Now here's the new logo. So it does feel like a proper brand new era of the show's about to kick off. I just wish they'd have just persevered with this logo a bit more and ironed it out a bit, because to me, I'm just going to leave it there. I don't like it because that W, and it looks unfinished. It looks too,
The W, I can't get over the W. It's really weird. It's really, really bugging me. Just before we move off this then, something else that I liked, but again, I'm going to get the impression that you didn't. But when this was announced, Forbidden Planet immediately put up for sale. I just love the fact that they'd got it there and had managed to keep under wraps. So they immediately announced a T-shirt with an official BBC T-shirt with the new logo, and it's got like the TARDIS. The new TARDIS behind it. What do you call it when it's like a print design of it? I don't know what you call that, but I really like it. Now, there's two things here. A, I like the T-shirt, but B, I love the fact it was announced simultaneously, and the reason is this. Hear me out. I know a lot of people are going to say the cash cow and all that, but Doctor Who branding has been so off recently. And I was talking to Reese in the Stamp Centre about this. He was saying about how stuff's been released so far after the series has aired that people have just stopped caring about it by the time it comes out. Like Series 9 soundtrack isn't even out yet, and that's like already 2 series ago, whatever. But so I just like the fact that it seems like they're trying to get things in time with the series, like that, because it feels to me a bit like, and this is just my impression. It feels to me a bit like the BBC had a very successful show with Doctor Who during the Tennant era, loads of merchandise. It was everywhere you went, billboards, and they kind of just, took their eye off the ball and said, yeah, that's just rocking and rolling. Leave it, let it get on with it. They took their eye off the ball, and gradually over those years, it's all just fell apart. Like the branding, nothing matches. That when something's released, the packaging is all over the place in terms of the actual branding. It's totally different on different products, and the timing. Like I said, we were getting. I know you don't collect the figures, but I like the figures, and they were coming out sort of a year and a half after the episode aired. Now, a true, a fan like me that just buys every blimmin' thing, I'll still buy it. But somebody who might have bought a figure of the 12th Doctor when the series was on, a casual sort of fan probably wouldn't a year and a half after the show's aired. So it feels like the branding has totally slipped out of sync with the show.
Absolutely.
For the last 2 years. So although I get that it's a bit, it feels like a bit of a cash cow. Oh my God, they've already got a t-shirt out of it. I like it because it just feels like they're working with the branding again to get things in sync. And I hope it's an indication of how we're going to continue. Like, I'm hoping if they do figures from Series 11, they come out with Series 11 or at the end of it, not a year down the line, and the same with the soundtrack. So yeah, I'm quite pleased about that. But I don't know how you feel about it, because I saw somebody tweeted you and said, oh, blooming heck, they've already got a t-shirt out. And I was thinking, I'm quite pleased about it, but don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the logo aside, I think it's great. I think for the very reasons that you just laid out there. I think because we've said it loads of times when we've been in Forbidden Planet. We know we've picked up certain things and we've just this looks dreadful. Yeah. And it's difficult to bash them this late in the day because everyone's kind of got used to it. But when you look back on it, I think you hit the nail on the head, mate. I think for the first few years, especially during the Tennant era, they were on the ball with it because they knew
absolutely on the ball.
Yeah, they knew that the ratings were like coming in and it was really popular and stuff. But then they just let it go on autopilot. They just thought, well, we don't need to do too much now because it will take care of itself,
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention this actually because one of the people that we speak on Twitter occasionally, Tom Dix, he put a few images on Twitter I think it was last week, where he was saying that, Doctor Who, the advertising and marketing used to be amazing. And he put some pictures on there where these huge billboards, like massive billboards around London and near Wales, where it's advertising Series 1 with Eccleston. It was that poster with them, Eccleston and Billy Piper on the front with the TARDIS.
I can picture it now. I loved it.
In the background, and it was massive. And they really, they were on the ball with all that stuff. But then, like you said, it just fell apart. They just felt like, well, Doctor Who is Doctor Who. We don't need to concentrate too much. It will just take care of itself. But as a result of that, it's just crumbled. So the fact that they're putting out merch already with the new logo is great news. Because if they can cement it now, if they can get this out into the world now and get people used to seeing it, and associate Doctor Who with this new branding, then that hopefully will set up some consistency. So when they start bringing out figures and books and the Blu-rays and stuff, I mean, the Blu-rays is going to be a big thing. They bloody well better get the consistency with the spines on the Blu-rays.
Yes.
There's no excuse for not lining up the logos. It's very easy to do.
And also, they used to be very controlling with who they licensed Doctor Who to, especially during the Tennant era. So, I mean, for example, when Russell took over with Chris, the BBC were like, "What's this Big Finish? Who are they? We should take their license away." And then Russell's like, "No, leave that. They're good." And I think you used to say, why don't they give Funko? A Doctor Who, the right Doctor Who, and they eventually did. They used to be very, very careful about who they gave the brand. In the last couple of years, they've given it to just about anybody. They don't care anymore, or they didn't. It seems like they've sort of tightened up again, hopefully. But sonic screwdriver, barbecue tongs, and it's just like the branding's just gone to pot really. And some of the stuff that's out there recently, it's been so tacky.
Indeed,
and like you said, they wouldn't have got that license a couple of years ago. I mean, look, I keep thinking of that awful bobblehead of well, it says Clara Oswald on the box, but it's actually Oswin Oswald, and stuff like that just would not have existed too far back, So yeah, I'm hoping they've reined it in a bit.
When they start releasing figures of like, who's the little scrunchy toy thing from Return of Dr. Mysterio? What was
that? Mr. Huffle.
Crikey, come on.
Yeah.
Well, when they start putting things like that out, come on now.
I secretly wanted one, but yeah, he's very hard to get. But it's a good example. Like I said, they just anything goes, or anything under the Moffat era. It's just like everything, and anyone could just get hold of it. Yeah,
I know.
I think that's why the branding just could be anything. Like there was no consistency.
Yeah, I think consistency is the name of the game. And I know we're waffling a bit here, but if you go into Forbidden Planet, one of the larger mega stores, you'll look to your right and you'll see some stuff there that's got the horrendous bright yellow and blue look and feel. You look to your left and you'll see packaging that's got the space scene with the purpley kind of novas knocking around, and you just think, so is this two different types of Doctor Who going on then? What's going on here? And then you pick up something else and the logo's in a different place and shape and size, and they've used a different font on that, and it's just all over the place.
It is. And you get T-shirts with cats and in Doctor Who costumes, and you're thinking, what has happened?
What's happened? Yeah.
I love cats. I love Doctor Who, but not together.
Exactly,
no, it's all a bit crazy. Just very lastly, you've just mentioned Forbidden Planet again, and branding. I saw that Chris Chibnall, well, I didn't see him, I saw on Twitter that Chris Chibnall was in Forbidden Planet London last week. I think the day before I went, or the day, So that's good. So I wonder if maybe he popped in just to have a little look and see. So he's probably stood there looking at the shelf thinking, right, I know what's going to be on there in 6 months' time. He's having a little look. But yeah, that's cool. And he posts for pictures for fans and stuff. And
I saw
he
that.
Seems like a really nice guy, actually. Yeah, I want to meet him.
He does. Yes.
I was kind of hoping you'd still be floating around when I went there 2 days later, which of course is ridiculous. So I was thinking, please pop back in, Chris.
So the Doctor Who logo at the end of today, I was going to say at the end of the day, but opinions might change. But at the end of today, you like it, I don't.
Yeah.
That's the short. That's the TLDR.
That's where we are.
Yes,
that's where we are at the minute.
Yes. Then that's the only news we've got. You'll be glad to hear, listeners. We're not going to waffle on too much, but we do need to get our metal friend in just to see what he's got.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Titan Comics.
Love them.
I
do love a Titan comic.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's been the new Doctors, and then they've sort of picked out some of the classic Doctors, who I assume they deem to be fairly popular among fans. But there was one Doctor, well, there's a few, but this particular Doctor has been left out, but no more. No more. So the 7th Doctor.
Yeah.
Old ferret down the trousers Doctor. He's getting his own run with Ace beside him.
Hooray!
Yay. So Titan Comics are kicking off the 7th Doctor adventures. It's a 3-parter, I think you said earlier, mate.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And they've got a few variants like they always do. The Titan guys, they always pump out a few variants. And one thing that I didn't realise at first, which you pointed out to me earlier, which is bloody awesome, is that Aronovich and Cartmel are back together to do this.
Yes, I know.
How awesome is that?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes. So for people unaware or new listeners or new to Doctor Who, Andrew Cartmel was the script editor back in the day during the Sylvester McCoy era. And Ben Aronovich was one of the writers at the time. And he wrote the awesome Remembrance of the Daleks and Battlefield. So those two have got buckets of experience where it comes to writing for Doctor Who, but especially for McCoy. So I'm very, very excited about these. I'll definitely be picking them up.
I'm absolutely thrilled. I was going to say 7th Doctor, tick. Ace, tick. Cartmel, Aronovich, tick. Oh, it's fantastic news. I'm very excited. I'm looking at the cover variants as well, and they're pretty decent. I like some of them more than the others. I'll be honest with you. I think 2 of them look quite good. One of them I'm not too sure about, but I'm just, I'm thrilled, and I'll definitely be getting these When do they actually come out? Has it got a release date?
Has it got a release date?
I couldn't see when released in June 2018.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. No, this is fantastic news. A definite pick it up for me. I've got a lot of the Titan comics, so I've really slipped behind on the. I was getting the 12th Doctor ones, and I've really slipped behind on those. But I'm kind of pleased because they're apparently putting the classic Doctors. They're currently putting the current range of Doctors on hold. So they've been doing like the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and they're going on hold. And then I think they're having a bit of a rebrand launching with the 13th Doctor. I'm not sure when, presumably when the new series kicks off, or maybe early. I'm not sure. So yeah, fantastic new Doctor on the way, and one of my favourite classics, 7th Doctor on the way. So definitely getting some of those. Right, what else has he got on his tray? Well, actually, this kind of picks up from what I was talking about earlier about, things that probably should have been released last year, but we're getting it now. So on Christmas Day 2017, last year, Pearl Mackie posted a picture of her Christmas tree, and right at the top of it was a 5.5-inch figure of Bill Potts in her sort of multicolored top, if you like. And it looks like quite a decent figure. As I say, I know I'm more into the figures than you are, but I was like, yay, a Bill figure's on the way. That's awesome. I've kind of forgotten about it since then, but it's now suddenly popped up as a pre-order on Amazon. Although it's showing as temporarily out of stock, I think this is what often happens with Amazon when they haven't got any information on release dates yet. So still not too sure when it's coming out, but it is up for pre-order. The figure itself, judging by Pearl's tweet, looks quite good. I would say they got a good resemblance to Bill. Yeah. So I'll be getting it. It just, again, it comes back to what I was just saying, these things should have come out when the series was on, because, we're not going to see Bill again, I wouldn't imagine. So whenever this does get released this year, we'll probably already be looking at the new series, and it's, it just feels so behind the times already. But it's a nice figure. I'm sure lots of Doctor Who fans out there who like Bill, like me, will want to get it. So I still think there's a market out there for it. But you know what I'm saying? It should have come out with Series 10, really, shouldn't it? With the Capaldi figure which they released and stuff. So but yeah, it's awesome. It's out for pre-order on Amazon. There is one interesting thing about the fact it's on Amazon is that Character Options, who make the figure, they because of the branding sales of slips, they have struggled to get retailers recently. So they were doing a lot of stuff exclusively through Toys R Us, because Toys R Us were the only people who would take it on. Right. Forbidden Planet often stock them as well. So they tended to be the two places to get it. I think Forbidden Planet, is it .com or .co.uk? I forget which. One of them had stopped stocking Doctor Who figures. I forget which one it is, or it's recently stopped stocking a lot of the Doctor Who stuff. So they have been struggling to find distributors for their stuff. And then when they were talking recently at one of the toy fairs and stuff, they were saying we found a new distributor, so that's all good. And it does make me wonder if Amazon is that new retailer. That's not to say that's not to say Forbidden Planet might not get it. I'm sure they will, but yeah, it's just good that, if Amazon are that big main retailer that they're going to get, then that's quite good for them, because obviously they're a major, no matter what me, you, or anyone else thinks of Amazon, they are a major site. So that's quite good news in terms of forthcoming releases. But yeah, so at the minute it's only on Amazon. It may well pop up as a pre-order on Forbidden Planet. Just worth keeping an eye on, I think, for anyone that collects the figures like me.
Indeedy. Yeah, that's like a good figure.
Yeah, it looks good. I wonder if they're doing Nardi to go with it. Probably in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
A Nardi.
Oh, Nardi.
That's it for merch.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Adam, me old chum.
Right.
It's time for review. What we got?
So, yes, a bit of Tom Baker this week, and it is Image of the Fendal.
There's someone coming. Clear it. Someone coming.
Your discovery could be one of the most important milestones in human development.
I need help.
I think it's the Fendal.
Is it alive?
Yes.
Adam!
I said don't touch her! There are 4,000 million people here on your planet. And if I'm right, within a year, There'll be just one left alive.
A place must be left for the one that kills.
It grows and exists by death.
This is not how it should be. You are being used. Mankind has been used.
Very intense.
Very intense.
Yes.
All kicking off there. in good old Fetchborough. Is that it?
Fetchborough, yes.
Yeah, Fetchborough.
Yeah, so Image of the Fendel, then, Fourth Doctor story, first came to our screens back in 1977. It is a four-parter. It is written by Chris Boucher. Yeah. It was directed by George Spenton Foster, and it was overseen by Robert Holmes. It's the Fourth Doctor and Leela. They're the TARDIS team in this one. And the TARDIS gets careered off course slightly, and they end up in Fetchborough, where it feels like a little bit of a crazy little village cult thing going on. So it all surrounds this excavation of this supposedly human skull which they found, which is emitting this kind of psychic power that's driving people a bit bonkers. It's killing various people. The scientists who are for some reason based out in this country farm somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It's a bit like the Geek's Handbag.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And so the guards have been drafted in because there's murders going on. The cult's all kicking in. And then the Doctor and Leela, they're sort of suspected of spying and all that stuff. So it all sort of trundles along. The Doctor's obviously very aware of the Fendal because he gives a little bit of history on that stuff. And it sort of climaxes with the strange woman with the painted eyelids, not doing very much, I'll be honest with you. And the strange slug looking things. Anyway, so that they all get that sorted out. There's one scene towards the end which is a little bit sort of very dark for the Doctor.
Oh yeah,
very very dark. And then then they're off on another adventure. But Image of the Fendal, it's kind of one that we hardly ever mention for some reason on the show. It's not one that gets brought up very often. And as a fourth, it kind of leans on that more sort of magic sort of kind of thing with Doctor Who. Which it's kind of, it mixes it. There's a lot of science going on, but it seems very sort of pseudoscience. But it also leans a lot on sort of magic stuff. So, it's a bit of a hidden one. So what do you think, mate, to this?
It is a bit of a strange one, isn't it? I think you're right. It does get forgotten about. I'd certainly forgotten it. For some bizarre reason, I mix it up in my head with Stones of Blood. I don't know why. Maybe it's the sort of Hammer horror feel of it. I just don't know. So it's definitely found it an interesting watch this week. I was loving bits of it. And I would say overall I enjoyed it. Just my gut feeling when it finished was I enjoyed that, but it could have been so much better. That's how I felt about it.
Right.
I thought it was a good watch, but there are two things which I felt really let it down, and they're quite important things, really. And it's the direction and the editing, because I was really confused at times what was going on.
Right.
For example, the cliffhanger to episode 1, where the Doctor's just stood there looking at the camera, and I was like, what's happening? So there were a few moments like that which kind of just took me out of the story, where I just thought it seemed a little bit it seemed to sort of the direction and the way it was going just didn't seem to flow in terms of the story. Because I like the story itself, the fact they found this skull and it's bringing, back all these things, and then you got Wanda Ventham as the lady in gold and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I liked about it, and but overall enjoyed it. But I don't know. It's I think when we said this about something recently, it didn't reach the heights of greatness, but it was all there that it could have. Can't remember what story we said that about recently, but I got the exact same feeling with this. It was so close to being a classic, had all the elements there, and it was definitely enjoyable, I thought, but it just didn't reach those heights. And as I said, a lot of time I was a bit confused what was going on, and I'm going to put that down to the direction and the way it was edited as well. Seemed a little bit off. There was something in, I think it was episode 3 maybe, where we sort of cut back to cut between scenes, but they were really quick edits, and it was very unclear what was actually happening. I thought, well, they should have just let that scene roll rather than trying to cut it in between 2 different scenes, because I've no idea what's happening. And stuff like that kind of ruined the flow for me. But yeah, overall decent though. Certainly there's some great moments in it, with the Doctor and Leela and stuff. So an odd one. It's an odd one. Yeah. What do you think? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's okay. It's a bit of an oddball. The thing that I do like about it is it's very, very creepy.
It is creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's especially the first couple of episodes where it's kind of setting up the story, if you like, and moving us forward. Because there's some scenes where there's people walking out in the woods, and you can see there's like fog rolling in, and they've got that is something or somebody watching me, and and then that happens the same thing with the Doctor and Leela when they land the TARDIS and they're walking through the woods, and it feels like the very old horror. If any horror fans are listening, like the very old, like the Evil Dead. We had the first person camera that sort of like travels through the woods, and it's all creepy and Hammer horror-esque. There are a few scenes like that, and it's that creepy old place as well. I think it's the Priory. This Priory where they're based at. You've got these strange old characters as well, like the old grandma. She's like,
oh yeah,
she plays that part very, very well.
Yeah, I love it when we get characters like that.
Yeah, so she's really into it, and she portrays this really, because she's into the whole cult thing. The whole village is into the cult thing, and so it's got this really creepy vibe about it. And there's a few scenes as well where Thea is. They do like this merge scene where they put the gold, like the glowing skull, over her face.
Yeah,
and she's sort of transfixed, and her eyes are she looks really scared. Yeah, so it does feel really creepy in some places, and I like that, because sometimes you need a little bit of a fright in Who, just to give you a bit of a, oh my God, what's happening?
If I was a kid watching this at the time, I mean that it would have scared me. There's no doubt about that. The way it's done is really creepy, and I loved all that stuff.
Yeah,
I kept thinking that. I was thinking, if I was a sort of, a young chap watching this at the time, I probably would have been pretty scared by it all.
Yeah, because because at the time we would have had like it felt, if anyone's ever seen An American Werewolf in London, it feels very similar to that, where the two characters at the beginning are walking along the moors, and they come across the pub and stuff, and it's all that sort of in the darkness across the moors with the fog and stuff. It's definitely got that horror type of vibe to some of it. But then it sort of it mixes its way into the sci-fi thing, because you have these scientists who are based there. They're doing experiments on the skull, and they've got the sonic the sonic time loop, whatever it is they're using.
Yeah.
So you do have the typical Doctor Who sci-fi element in there. You've got the scientists in the white coats and the experiments and all that stuff. But it kind of takes a back seat almost, because it does, like I said earlier, it does feel like it feels more than just sciencey sci-fi stuff, because when you see that skull glowing, and you can tell it's going into Thea's mind, and then we see certain people get killed in the woods, and the whole cult thing. The science stuff to me takes a bit of a back seat, which is not a bad thing at all. And it actually ends up being a bit of a character, a bit of a dark ending to me, really. The end of it does feel very... They kind of redeem it right at the very end, where the Doctor shoots Leela a big old smile.
Yeah.
And then you're on to the Sunmakers. So it does sort of redeem itself at the end. But up to that point, sort of the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so, it does feel like a bit of a dark ending for a Who story, especially from this particular era.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking to myself, this I had to check if this was under the production of Graham Williams, which it is. And it is surprising, actually, because it feels like it could have belonged in the Hinchcliffe era. I can't help but, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I can't help but feeling it would have been better if Hinchcliffe had actually produced this, because it definitely has that darker tone, especially the scene I think you're going to talk about later with the Fourth Doctor and that scene in episode 4. So it does have a darker tone to it, which I like, because a lot of the stuff in the Graham Williams era is not always my favorite. Let's put it that way. It's a very light. So yeah, this feels a lot more like the sort of Doctor Who that I really enjoyed from the Tom Baker era. I just like you was surprised it was Graham Williams. When I looked at the credits, I couldn't think what series this was from. That last episode feels quite different as well, doesn't it?
It does.
Like it's as if everything happens in episode 4, because you know when I don't know, the Gold Lady, does she have a name? I know it's Thea, but does she have a name as the Gold Lady? But when she transforms, like you said earlier, she doesn't do anything.
Not really.
And I kind of felt like everything was happening in episode 4. I wish we'd had a bit more going on in episode 3, really. That's why another thing that I feel could have been better is that just as everything starts happening, the Priory blows up and we're off on another adventure. And they could have brought in the Fendal and the Gold Woman and all that sort of thing a lot earlier in the story, and I think it would have been better. In episode 3, for example, when not much happens, rather than everything kicking off in episode 4 and just wrapping up really quickly. Because you're right, she doesn't do anything.
Not really.
She must have been in makeup for hours. She looks quite creepy with the whole eyes drawn on the eyelids thing, and the way she's, her expression, and it's a bit Medusa-like, actually.
It is, yeah.
So she looks creepy, but she doesn't really do anything, and nor do the Fendal, really, do they? They kind of waddle along the Priory hallways and then get some salt chucked at them, and they're gone. So yeah, I just felt like we needed a lot more of that stuff brought in sooner, rather than saving it all for the big finish, if you like. I
read you. Actually, yeah, it's a good point. It does feel a bit rushed towards the end.
Yeah.
And those things where, so the Fendaline,
yes.
The little slug-like sort of creatures. They didn't really do much, in my opinion, as well. So the sort of unused elements, if you like, or underused, should I say, not unused. The underused elements would be, so Thea, when she sort of part transforms into the Fendal core, I think she's called, and the Fendaline, these little slug things, didn't really trouble them too much. I mean, I know when they're in the circle, and she just points to one of them and they evaporate into dust and stuff. It's quite, but other than that, it didn't really trouble them too much, did they?
No, and also I think the Fendaline could have looked more scary on screen, because they sort of very loosely reminded me, in Day of the Triffids. If anyone's ever seen the 70s production of Day of the Triffids, those rubbery old monsters are terrifying, simply because of the way they're shot. When they loom down and people are running from them, there is something really creepy about them. And again, I put this down to the direction of Image of the Fendal. If they'd have been shot better, I think they could have been scary, but they're not. They're just shot straight on, waddling down the corridor.
Yeah.
Going, But imagine that thing looming over you like a Triffid or Again, this is why I have to say I don't think the direction in this was particularly good at all, by George Spenton Foster. I mean, it's not even a name I know. I did look to see who. I kept thinking, who's directing this? And every time I forgot to check the credits, but obviously we've got it in front of us now. But yeah, I just felt there was a real missed opportunity with the Fendal. They aren't a bad design. They've actually been made pretty well for the time that this was made, but they're just not shot very well. They're not really scary at all. But yeah, I just kept thinking Day of the Triffids. Just kept thinking how, they sort of reminded me of that, but they just weren't used anywhere near as good. If you know what I mean.
I read you. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that, when you mentioned earlier that there are some stories where they're kind of on their way to being classics. There are some that are good watches, but there are certain things that you think, if that could have been better or whatever, this could have been a classic.
Yeah.
I think it's those types of things with this story. So if we had a bit more of a, if the story was paced a little bit better across the 4 episodes and not everything, because it's good to have that build up and, the climatic sort of episode 4, everything sort of kicks off. It's good to have that. But there was a lot of, it felt, especially in episode 2, it felt like there was a lot of talking about what could be done and what we should be doing, especially between the scientists. So when Thea starts to really, sort of lose it a little bit because of these images that she's seeing in her mind. And then we have so Dr. Fendelman, with I still don't know where he's meant to be from.
No, not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if he's German or if he's Swiss or French. I don't know. He's from somewhere in Europe. So at the beginning, he's very much like, well, we'll just cover up the dead body and we'll just move along. And then the other scientist who's there with Thea, I think his name's... Is it Adam? I think it's just Adam, his name.
Is Adam the one that... Because there is one character in this that I feel lets down the rest of what I would consider to be a good supporting cast. Is Adam the one that's very OTT?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And so Dr. Fendelman, he's like he's the guy that's just, really consumed with his experiments and just wants to cover it all up and move on. And you've got Max Stahl, who's the very quiet, you knew he was up to something right from the get-go, but he was like the leader of the cult now, wasn't he? He took over as the village head of the cult kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you had Theo and Adam. They were the 2 scientists that were there just for, I don't know. So Adam, he was very OTT, but that's what I mean. In episode 2, he was very much like, well, I'm going to call the police. We're going to do this. And Thea's like, yes, you should call the police. And then conveniently the phones don't work. And then, he starts talking to Dr. Fendelman and he's like, we should do this because of that. So in episode 2 and for some of 3, there is a lot. I found there's just a lot of conversations around, and also the scene in the cottage with old Ma Tyler.
Yeah.
And her grandson Jack, I think.
She keeps calling him John as well. I was like, is that a mistake? Or but I think it is intentional. But yeah.
So when they discover what's happened to her, she said that she's seen something in her mind and all that lot. And again, it's Leela and her grandson Jack are like, right, we're going to do this. We should do that. And there seems to be a lot of talking in the middle part and not much doing is the best way I can describe it. But then it all sort of then gets rushed into the doing part into the end. So I would have liked to have seen more stuff going on other than just sitting on chairs. Let's do this. Let's do that. We should do this. So I guess that's down to direction, though. The direction and the pacing. It wasn't too bad, but it was, yeah.
It could be, I mean, I suppose, obviously the writer. I mean, Chris Boucher, I know the name really well because he did a lot for Blake 7. Mm-hmm. And I love the stuff he did for Blake 7. And it's very fast-paced, his scripts for Fast 7. Nothing like this at all. Like, if I hadn't seen his name at the start of it, I would never have associated this with him. Not to say it's bad in any way. It just has a very different feel from the stuff that I've watched of his before. And before I've just Googled Day of the Triffids. Day of the Triffids was actually 1981. I always assumed it was the 70s. So maybe that's an unfair comparison, but that's sort of what they reminded me of a little bit of the way they were sort of, supposed to be scary. But yeah, that's what I kept thinking. Like, because there's a bit where the Doctor goes off in the TARDIS with Leela in the middle, and we don't see them go back to the TARDIS. They're just suddenly in it, which I found again a bit jarring. That's again an editing thing, I think. I was thinking, hang on, when did they go back to the TARDIS? And they're off to try and find. Where are they off? They're off to try and find something out about the Fendel, aren't they? And the Doctor's like, their planets. The Time Lords have put it in a loop. I can't get to it. There's no information on it, and that felt very filler to me. It's as if they take it through the TARDIS, but that was a waste of time. Let's go back to the Priory. And I thought, well, it just, and the editing as well. Like, I think there is a scene in the deleted scenes. I could be wrong. I didn't watch them, but I seem to remember there is a scene cut showing them going off towards the TARDIS. But I am right, aren't they? They just suddenly appear that they're back in it, and there's no. There's no lead up to it at all, which again I found quite jarring. Really.
No, you're correct, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, the location used, interestingly, is it's the same location where they filmed Pyramids of Mars. It's Stargrove Manor, which was owned by Mick Jagger.
Stargrove
at the time.
Yeah.
Stargrove. So yeah, obviously, I don't know. They obviously got on well with Mick because, but it's good because I wouldn't know that from the way it's filmed. It doesn't feel like the same location or anything to me.
Do you know what? It didn't when I watched it, but when I read into it and found that out. That did click in my mind, actually. There's a few corridors they walk down which look very familiar.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But I didn't realise that when I watched it, though, the first couple of times. I was unaware completely. So, yeah.
It's probably because it's all at night, maybe. I don't know. It has a different feel to it, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I think you and I are in agreement there. Sort of overall, the direction and pacing and so on could have been a bit better with this one.
What did you think was happening at the end of episode 1? Because I'm still unclear. I'm assuming the Doctor can't move. Something?
Yeah. It's sort of he's a different reaction. I'm guessing though because he's not human. It's he can sort of fight back because when it's happening to Thea, she just gets immediately she's frozen on the spot. And she can't do anything. But I think when it's trying to go into the Doctor's mind because he's a lot more. His mind's different to a human. He can push back and resist a lot more. So it felt like he was sort of halfway in between. He was sort of caught in it. His mind was caught, and he was aware of what's going on. Because when Leela runs in the beginning of episode 2, he tells her to stop. I think he wants to see what's going on. And when she kicks the chair away, I think he's quite annoyed with her at the beginning, isn't he? He's a bit, why'd you do that? But yeah, that's what I thought was going on. He was transfixed, but he wasn't held in the grip, if you like, as much as Thea was, because he's not human.
It's a strange cliffhanger, though, isn't it? Because in the sort of conclusion to that, he's like, "Come on, legs," is sort of as if he couldn't. I don't know. I just couldn't. Again, I was just surprised at the way it was filmed, and I would have thought Tom would have put more into it to show what was supposed to be happening. But
right.
I suppose if you're directed to just act as if you can't move, I suppose it's quite. I don't know. It just didn't work for me at all, that cliffhanger. I was really bemused by it. And even in part 2, when we picked up from it, I was a bit like, what? But anyway, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
As cliffhangers go, it's not one of the best.
Not one of the best, no. It's like, yeah, that's the thing with this story. I don't have sort of too many big complaints about it all. In some stories, it's like, crikey, they should have rethought that. But with this one, there wasn't any massive complaints I had, really. It was just these sort of little niggly things throughout the story, that being one of them. But
it's definitely watchable, isn't it? I mean, I did enjoy watching it, even if I didn't always know what was going on. I was definitely enjoying it. And I did think, as I said earlier, the supporting cast were quite good. Apart from, I'm sorry to say, Edward Arthur, who played Adam. He was just so he takes the David Collins School of Acting to another level. I think we might have to have an award for the Edward Arthur School of Acting from now on, because he's not on the same level as the rest of the cast. I mean, even Dennis Lill, who played Dr. Fendelman, doing his accent, even he's acting really well. I mean, the accent might be a bit jarring, but he gives a great performance, I thought. I'm actually quite excited because I'm going to see a play tonight and he's in it, which I didn't realise this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So that's quite cool. But no, I mean, even he was giving quite a good performance. And, they work quite well. As you said, there's a lot of dialogue between the scientists. And I think on the whole, they work quite well as a cast. I just found Adam a bit of an annoying character. He's just so over the top, and he's a bit smug, isn't he?
A little bit.
He doesn't seem to be taking it as seriously as the rest of the cast, I didn't think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, mate. He's he comes across as quite confident in his performance, which is quite good. But on the other hand, like you say, he does chew the woodwork a little bit, and
I was going to look to see if he'd got what other TV stuff he'd done, but actually he's the only one on the list on Wikipedia that you can't click on, so that would suggest that maybe he didn't do much else.
Oh no, he has done quite a bit.
Has he? Oh, okay. I can't get a list of what he's done. But
yeah, he was in EastEnders very briefly, not that we watch it, but
no.
He's been in like a lot of sort of early 90s,
really?
mid 90s TV. So he's in Lovejoy, Brookside, Moonlighting, Pride and Prejudice, London's Burning.
Oh, right. So he has done quite a bit then.
Yeah, but all very quite small parts though. So he hasn't been in any of them for, a length of time. Just turns up, does the whole theatre thing and buggers off.
All right, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So what did you think of like Dr. Feldman, and who's the other guy? Who's the guy that...
So Max Stahl
kind of turns bad.
Yeah, he was the guy that's he's the other scientist that's working with Fendelman quite closely.
They're not bad, are they?
Yeah, they're okay. I mean, yeah, so the Max Stahl character, he was okay. I found him, because I knew that he was something up with him from the beginning. I remember when I first watched
that shifty look.
Yeah, you just thought, right, I mean, Cluedo mode. It's going to be him in the study, with something. He just got that.
Vendel.
Yeah, just got that vibe about him. But, we mentioned the supporting cast. I think overall they played their parts as needed, I think is the best way to describe it. Because Fendelman's quite loud and shouty when he needs to be. He's kind of trying to be in control of everything. And, and then you've got Max, who's very much the opposite, very quiet and thoughty. And that's not a word, is it? Thoughty. Very quiet and,
thoughtful.
Thoughtful a lot, yeah. And so you can tell that he's up to something, and we see his true colours in episode 3. And then you've got Thea, who's just the run-of-the-mill scientist there to do her job. No drama with her, really, until she sort of kicks off in episode 4. And then you've got Adam, who is, I don't know, I think he's just meant to be like a bit of he needed to be that stronger character, I think, because otherwise you'd have Fendelman just shouting all over the place all the time. Then you'd have 3 scientists who are all quiet and not really, standing up to him. So
yeah, true.
We needed him to be a bit more of a shouty, not a shouty person, but more confident to stand up to him a little bit. But overall, they weren't bad. What do you think to those guys then?
Yeah, no, I agree. I just found Adam OTT, but I thought Thea, Wanda Ventham, I mean, she's been in Doctor Who a few times, and I just really like her as an actress. There's something about her. I always find her very watchable, sort of quite believable, because she's... what
was she in other Doctor Who?
Well, she's in Time and the Rani, but you probably wouldn't recognise her because she's under a load of stickers. She's got a load of stickers all over her face. She plays Varun, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
The one whose daughter dies.
Yeah.
Gets blown into the skeleton and burning and smouldering on the cliff. Yeah, so she's in, and she was also in, I think it's the Faceless ones. Oh, you're testing me now. Let me have a look. But yeah, she's been in it a couple of times. And I've seen her in other stuff as well. She's done quite a lot of TV. She's Benedict Cumberbatch's mother as well.
That's correct.
That's going to really bug me. Was it the Faceless ones? Yes, it was. So she's in that one as well.
Okay, cool.
But I liked her in this. I mean, it can't have been easy having those eyes painted on her eyes. I kept thinking, I bet she's in makeup for ages, getting all that when she turns into the gold Fendel thing.
Yeah.
But I just thought she was quite good in it. I didn't realise she was forced to wear a black wig as well until I watched the little making of. Apparently, I think it's Graham Williams insisted that I think she was blonde, and Graham Williams said, "Oh no, a scientist would never have blonde hair."
Crikey, right.
God forbid.
Yeah.
But it kind of suits her, and I just thought she was quite good. Now I'd like to have seen a bit more from her, actually, if anything, especially when she goes all Fenderly, and I thought definitely could have had more from her. But yeah, I thought they worked well together as a cast. I thought you could tell they'd rehearsed, and they sort of threw their lines off each other quite well, and I did like them. Adam, even though he was over the top, again, it does bring something else to the story, so I quite liked him. You mentioned EastEnders earlier, and of course we do get somebody else pop up who I'd completely forgotten about, who was in EastEnders for ages. I always think of him more as the unit stuntman, but he did go into acting, and I'm talking about Derek Martin, who plays he plays David Mitchell, but he's a policeman, isn't he?
He's a security guard in this.
Security guard. So yeah, he pops in for a coffee at one point, doesn't he?
He does,
and this is a bit random because he doesn't get anything else to do, does he? I literally,
no.
I'm not remembering it wrong, am I? I only watched it he comes in, has a coffee, and then dies.
And then gets killed. Yeah, he's hilarious as well because he's got that no nonsense.
Oh, he has a bit of a spark off with what's her name?
With old Ma Tyler.
Mar Tyler, yeah.
Yeah, because she's got the ump, hasn't she, big time about him, because he's sort of, because Fendelman calls security in and they lock the place down, basically. You know, no one's allowed in and out. So she's used to just wandering in and out, and he's having none of it. So she, you know, she's having a pop at him, he's having a pop back, and it's all a bit petty, really. But then he sort of finishes the argument with, you know, any more of you, and I'll, you know, sling your hook and, you know, and on your way.
That. I love that scene. It's so funny the way they they're just giving each other grief. That's really funny. It's just nice to see him pop up. As I said, I know a lot of the time he's more sort of stuntman for units, sort of behind the scenes, and obviously he was in EastEnders for a long time, so a lot of people will recognise him from that. But it's just good to see him pop in for a coffee and have a good old slanging match with Mar. That was quite good. She's good as well, actually. You mentioned her a couple of times, Mar Tyler. So it's played by Daphne Hurd.
That's it.
I thought I recognised her from something else, and I thought it was All Creatures Great and Small, but it's not. Apparently she wasn't in that. So I've definitely seen her in other things. I'm sure I have. Well, she's one of those faces that I recognise. But
yeah, well, like everybody in Classic Who, she's been in Zed Cars.
Oh, right. Wow.
So you might have seen her in that.
No,
don't know what else she's been in there.
Who am I thinking of? Because there was a woman, very similar character to that, in All Creatures, played the, you know, like the housekeeper and all that.
No, it wasn't.
Looks a lot like it's not her, but no. But she was good though. As I said, I love it when we get characters like that in Doctor Who that are just, I don't know, fun.
Just fun and
to watch.
Yeah, and they're really sort of giving it their all as well, because we've mentioned quite a few times in the past where supporting cast members, especially for Classic Who, sometimes they feel like they have a bit like a Kenny Baker moment. If anyone's seen any of the Star Wars documentaries with Kenny Baker, he always mentions that when he first got cast as R2-D2 and was there on set, he always thought, what the bloody hell is going on here? There's this walking big furry thing, there's people on, you know, he said, this is all bizarre. I've no idea what's going on. So I get the feeling that a lot of supporting cast actors had the same thing when they started filming for Doctor Who. They just thought, what is all this about? I can't get my head around this. But in this story, I didn't get that at all from any of the supporting cast members. They all seemed like they were into it.
She was perfectly cast.
She was great.
She's got the whole psychic thing going on and all that sort of stuff. She plays it brilliantly. Actually, her son's good as well.
Is it a son or a grandson? Is it a son? Yeah.
No, it might be grandson. But I recognise him, but he from a different soap. It's weird because I don't watch any of the soaps. I actually detest.
But we know of him.
Yeah, but he was in. I recognise him from Corrie. I think he was in it from ages. So what's his real name?
Jeffrey Hinsliff.
Yes, Jeffrey Hinsliff. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, not a name I would know, but I recognised him, and he's good as well, isn't he? He's totally into the part, like you said. And they're doing their accents, aren't they? They're doing their funny accents.
They're all down West Country, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're
cold
good.
Around here.
But they're both good. I liked them. As I said, supporting cast actually really good in this, considering it is quite a strange story. Like you said, it must have been a bit weird to get their head around. But yeah, they do a good job.
They do, yes. And then we have the sort of smattering of other support cast members, which you don't really hear from, so won't really speak much. But like the hiker through the woods at the beginning, you know, he's only there to get killed, basically, and some other security guards. So, yeah, overall, the casting was pretty good, actually. Yeah. Let's talk about Leela then. Leela,
lovely Leela.
Leela, so fiery as always, and yeah, it's one of those episodes, one of those stories where she doesn't get a great deal to do because it all sort of falls to the Doctor's soldier. I can't speak today. It all falls on the Doctor's shoulders, really, to sort the whole thing out, even though they don't want him there in the first place. And Leela, I get the feeling that although she does command a little bit in especially episode 3 and 4, she's not really there to do the key move, if you like, for the story. That's down to the Doctor, as it should be. But yeah, although she's quite fiery at times, there's a funny scene with her and Jack when he's got the walking stick poked at her and she thinks,
oh, that's good.
It's a gun and stuff. And, you know, that sort of, it sort of warms. She warms to him, I think, because of that. After he starts talking to her and explains what's going on, she warms, and But other than that, other than shouting a little bit in episode 4, kind of I would say it's a standard story for Leela. Nothing too crazy for her.
No, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, I just love the character. Absolutely love Leela as a character. And she did feel a little bit more subdued in this. I mean, although she's ready to kill anyone that needs to be killed, and she's always got that knife and stuff. I don't know. She didn't seem to be, like in some stories, Leela's a bit more savage, and she's like asking the Doctor lots of questions because she doesn't understand. So she'll be, things that are very obvious to her. She's like, why would that happen? She wasn't doing much of that in this story. She seemed a little bit more confident in what was going on. So that sort of dumbed down her character slightly for me. But I just thought, I don't know. I really like her as a companion, and quite often I get frustrated with the way the Doctor talks to her. So I'm not always like happy with the chemistry between the two of them, because I know Tom didn't like the character back in the day, and I often feel that comes across on screen. But in this one, I felt like they worked really well together, even though they get split up. I thought the scenes they're in together were really nice. Like the Doctor wasn't putting her down, wasn't sort of saying that's Leela like he sometimes does. They seem to be working well together in this story. And I think possibly they were getting on better off screen as well. I think Louise Jameson might say that on the making of, but because I love them together. And as I said, I do like the companion leader. It's just sometimes you do feel that tension that was off screen on screen with Tom and Leela, and I don't always like it. I always think wish he'd embrace the character more, rather than he sometimes sort of spits his lines out at her, and there wasn't any of that in this particularly. So I think that's why I liked her in it, really.
Yeah, I read you. Yeah.
I just thought her and Tom worked very well together. Like, she's almost teasing the Doctor a lot of the times in this. Like in the TARDIS, there's some nice humour when like Tom's talking to the cows, and then the next thing Leela's got a knife at that guy's throat in the bush, and there are nice moments in this between Leela and the Doctor, rather than sort of sometimes the sort of tetchy moments that we got. Like I think in Fan Rock they're quite tetchy between each other, if I remember rightly. But yeah, I just thought they worked really well together in this story. It seemed like Tom was a bit more gentle in the way that he was treating her as a companion, which he isn't always. Some of their stories. No, I agree, and I like that banter between them. Like at the beginning when she's teasing him about not knowing about all the things to do with the TARDIS, and he's getting quite worked up about it, and and it's
also
a lovely scene at the end, isn't there, with her and K9, and he's like, see, you called him your or something. I loved that. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, you called him him.
Yeah.
He's like, yes. That's what I mean. Little scenes like that are really cool, the little banter. And there's a bit in the middle as well where Tom's like, go and get 4 cups of tea in your finest china and some fruitcake. Everyone loves fruitcake. And when they sit down, he's like, right, we're going to sit down and have some tea. And Leela's like, and some fruitcake. And the Doctor's like, he sort of rolls his eyes like, yes, we've already said that.
Yeah.
So it's well written, those little scenes. It's good banter between them.
Definitely, yeah. I really like the relationship between the two in this one. As I said, I've always liked them both anyway, but sometimes together, I don't know, it just feels a bit frosty. Feels like the Doctor doesn't want her around, whereas in this one I got the impression that he did, and he was letting her get on with stuff, and I liked all that.
Yeah. And what about Tom himself then?
Tom's really good. I can't help but notice his scarf looks different in this. I couldn't place if it just had a good clean. It just looked really new. It looked really bright and shiny. But no, Tom is Tom, and he's really good in this, and he does hold the whole thing together, as usual with Tom Baker. He's just electric when he's on screen. But there is one bit in this, and you mentioned it earlier, which we should talk about, where he does do something very dark for the Doctor's character.
Oh, I see. Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they could have got around it, because you mentioned the scene, so I'll let you talk about it. But there is a moment, isn't there, towards the end where something quite dark in terms of storytelling happens, and it isn't very pleasant. But then I'm thinking, I don't know what else the Doctor could have done. But go on, you say.
It's not very pleasant at all. And when I first watched this scene, I was like, wow. I was really in shock at the time.
Yeah.
And what happens is when when we spoke earlier about the Fendal and projecting images into people's minds, they sort of get frozen on the spot and they can't really do anything. And that happens to the character of Max. So this quiet, scheming sort of scientist that we mentioned earlier. In episode 4, when we have the cult members in a circle, when you've got the Fendal core, Thea that's transformed, she's kind of got him in a grip, in a hold. And at that point, the other scientists, Adam and Leela, are trying to rescue people and they've escaped. And the doctor's about to, to do the same. And Max says to him, pass me the gun. It's over there on the mantle. And the doctor's immediately thinks he's going to try and shoot, the Fendal. And he's like, it will have no effect on her. And he says, no, it's not for her, it's for me. And as soon as he says that, you think, no, surely not. Surely not. The doctor's going to be able to save him. No, no problem. But then the doctor does it. He goes over, he gets the gun, he hands it to Max, and as the doctor's running out of the room up the stairs, you just hear a gunshot. And that's it. And you think, crikey. And I'm not sure about you, mate, but that really sort of hit me for 6 when I first watched that.
It is, it is dark. And because, although you don't actually see him shoot himself, there is no question about what's just happened. And then you do see him lying on the floor dead with the gun next to him, don't you? So, there's no doubt in your mind that he's, doctor's just handed him the gun to shoot himself. So that's really dark. I'm surprised that Graham Williams didn't tweak the script to make the Fendal kill him or turn him to, they could have changed it quite easily. I don't know if I wish they had or not.
Yeah.
Because it feels uncomfortable, the doctor sort of doing that. But then what else could the doctor have done? If they didn't change the script, you wouldn't want the doctor to shoot him, but I don't know. It's a very dark scene at the end of this story, and it is slightly uncomfortable.
It does end on a bit of a dark tone, doesn't it?
It's dark, yeah.
It's dark. And like you say, I'm not sure what else they could have. I mean, they could have easily saved him. They could have done something where the doctor somehow releases the grip on him from the Fendal, and out the door they go. They could have done that, I suppose. But I'm just wondering what their motive was for including something as dark as that in the story, because he's not, although he's like the ringleader of the cult, he's the one that's kind of set this all up, if you like. And I don't know, sometimes we do have that in stories, like at the end of The Two Doctors, Colin Baker's Doctor, he doesn't save that guy at the end. Do you know which scene I'm talking about? By the tree.
What, Shock Eye?
Yeah.
When he gives him the that's now that is nasty.
Yeah. So it does pop up in Who from time to time where the doctor does have these dark moments where he absolutely doesn't. And we had it with was it Matt Smith's character with
with David Bradley's character. Dinosaur spaceship, yeah.
He could have easily saved him. But just sort of let him go out and his ship got blown up. So there are these moments in Who where the doctor doesn't directly murder anybody, but he certainly doesn't contribute in trying to save them too much.
Yeah, although I mean, I suppose in this, he couldn't have saved him, I think is what they're saying. But but he's still handing him the means to end his life. It is dark for daytime television back in 77.
77, yeah.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, I think, and especially, I know I keep going back to this, but especially as it's under the Graham Williams era.
I know.
Doctor Who was, definitely moving away from these sorts of things. So I am surprised it was left in the script. I'm surprised they didn't tweak it. They could have easily changed it. I'm not surprised in a way that that it's in a Chris Boucher script, because looking at his Blake Seven stuff, he doesn't pull any punches. So I'm not surprised from him, because I think he's a good writer as well. But yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't sort of change it to the to either the Doctor saving him or the Fendal turning him to dust, and the Doctor just looking back and thinking, well, I couldn't have done anything. Or, it's bleak. It's a bleak scene for Doctor Who. In some ways, though, I'm glad it's there. It does have an impact.
It does, yeah.
It does. It maybe the story would be a bit more boring without it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would have been the way to go, to have the Fendal, sort of disintegrate him like she did with the other.
It's probably what I would have done. And then I'd have had a shot of the Doctor just looking back thinking, I can't do anything.
Maybe they were trying to put across that the Doctor realises that shooting himself was less of a painful death than what was going to happen to him. I don't know. But it's definitely impactful. Yeah.
And there's no reaction from the Doctor either, in terms of we don't see a reaction. I'm sure because he just goes up the steps, here's the gun, and looks back, and then he's off. I suppose it's just like, well, I got to go. I can't do anything. I got to go.
Yeah.
But we don't see much reaction from him.
That's true. Yeah. Otherwise, I agree. He's great. Yeah.
He's Tom. He's just giving another superb performance. He's great with the humour, good with the dark stuff, good at talking to cows. Yeah. And as I said, I think he works very well with Louise Jameson. I think together they're really good in this one.
Yeah. Anything you want to mention before we rock on with scores?
No, I've only got one other note. It's a bit of a strange one. I just put, where's the TARDIS light? Because I couldn't help but notice that the prop looked nice and clean for a change on the the but was missing its lamp. I was like, they've forgotten the TARDIS light. They probably just hoped we wouldn't notice, but exactly. I noticed.
Yeah.
Whereas, although the prop looked good on the outside, minus the light, I couldn't help but notice inside. You were saying about the other weeks about giving the floor a clean, and there's a shot where Leela's lying on the floor at one point, and it looks really bad. And the rotor, I'm pretty sure, was broken. There's a bit where it's going up and down, and it looks like it's hanging apart inside.
It does look mashed up.
Yeah, it does look a bit mashed up. So I always love looking for these things. But that was my only other note, is where was the TARDIS light? They obviously forgot it that day because it's on location, obviously. So they probably got there, set it all up, thinking, doesn't it look good, nice and clean with its new paint? Oh no, where's the light?
No, we've left it back at the studio.
Television Centre, Studio 3. Oh no.
Oh well, they won't notice.
Joe Publish won't notice. No, it's not going to be on DVD in 20 years' time. Don't worry about it. It'll have been erased by then. They probably thought.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okie dokie then. So, Image of the Fendale.
Right.
It's your turn to go first. What have you got?
It is my turn to go first, and no messing around this week. I've written 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, okay. Enjoyable, but could have been better.
Okay, cool. I have gone with a 7.
Oh, a 7. Okay.
Yeah, because for the very similar reasons. I thought it was a good enough watch. Supporting cast were very good. Story was good. Just could have been a few little niggly things to sort out. Could have got a higher score. But initially I thought, before I rewatched it, I thought this is a 6 for me. But when I rewatched it yesterday, I thought, no, I really like the little creepy horror aspects and some of the story elements and the performances. So yeah, a 7 for me.
A 7, yep.
Not too bad. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
What did our listeners think, though? So on Twitter, we did the poll. We're asking you guys, what did you think? And 76% of you said likey.
Oh, good.
And only 24% of you said stinky.
That's good.
So not a bad score there. And we had a few actual comments over on Twitter. So Mike Friendly says, not a huge fan of this one. I find it a bit of a struggle to get through. Tom is Tom, and Louise Jameson puts in a good performance. However, that is not enough to save this one, I'm afraid. 5 Fenderlines out of 10.
Only a 5, oh dear.
Only a 5. Wesley McCammon, he says, didn't like it when I was younger, but another Twitter user helped me again with a new appreciation for it, so much so that it led to the very first and second episode of DWFAA.
Oh, yeah, it's fan audio. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's going to do for Twitter. There's no other stuff on there. Let's move over to the official Facebook page. Kevin Mullen says, perhaps the classic series' last truly scary story. A genuine feeling of dread that is almost tangible, and it's easy to imagine this could be a Quatermass story. One scene that stands out is the Doctor giving Max the gun. Although he obviously didn't see it, it's clear he killed himself. The entire cast give brilliant performances, and the production is as good as any Hammer horror movie. Not quite perfect. Wanda Ventham's Ives are a bit silly, but still an absolute classic. 9.947 out of 10.
Love it. Very precise. Yeah.
Snap. Jeff Waddle says, H.P. Lovecraft meets Doctor Who. Evil from the dawn of time, and it's going to get Benedict Cabbage Patch's sexy mum. Absolutely cracking story. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, okay.
Jeff watching for other reasons there.
Yeah.
Martin Arnold says, it's Fenderlicious. It's weird to me that some of the creepiest TV I can remember has been on kids' TV. I seem to recall the K9 spin-off of yesteryear was full of weird occult stuff as well.
It was, yeah.
It says, this Pip's Impossible Planet / Satan Pit to the post for Creepiest Who. I don't know if people regard this as a classic of the series, but I give it 8 gun-toting scientists out of 10. He says, honestly, where did they get all those guns?
Yeah.
Sammy Satine says... sorry, what was you going to say, mate?
No, I just said a good point about the guns.
Yeah, they seem to pop up everywhere, don't they? Yeah. Sammy Satine says, the Fendal creep me out like the giant green maggots in The Green Death did. Love Leela in a new outfit, also the hair. I always loved Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor, especially that bit when he offers a jelly baby to a skeleton.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
That was quite, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, it does nothing for me, 4 out of 10. You built us up there, Sammy, and then you brought us down.
We're going to come in with an 8.
With a
4.
Joseph Howarth says, this is pretty good. Atmospheric and creepy for the gothic horror story. The Doctor and Leela have a great partnership throughout the entire story, and each new part reveals more of why the Fendal is here on Earth and gives you the suspense. It's more of a nitpick, but Max's actor isn't all that great and comes off as cliched. It's a bit confusing to start off with, but you do eventually get the good idea of what the story is about. Not the best Tom story, but it's decent enough. 7.5. And lastly, George Puddy says, a slightly strange story, quite creepy, yet there are some elements in there that just don't sit right with me. One thing that I do love is the Doctor and Leela's relationship, which is wonderful to watch. But the main redeeming factor is Tom Baker, the man himself. He makes every Who story brilliant to watch. 7 out of 10.
Yes, that's good. Yes. Cheers, George.
Did you have anything over on the Geek's Handbag?
Yeah, I had a couple. So Alex, he's very kindly spelt out his name for me this week. So it's Alex Kafajoglu.
Okay, cool.
Apparently.
Yep.
Says, one of my all-time favourites, another underrated gem. Seems like a throwback to the Hinchcliffe era. You can tell Robert Holmes was still the script editor. Very good point, actually, Alex. I hadn't thought about that. Lots of familiar faces in the cast. Love Colby's line when he turns to see Steele holding a gun to them. Dr. Fendelman, I think you have an industrial relations problem. That is actually, yeah. See, we don't get great stuff like that anymore, do we?
No.
He gives it 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
So Alex really likes it. Top 20 story, he says. Jason Howells says, creepy and gothic could easily be made as a Hammer horror movie. It's not one of his favourites, he says, but he really enjoys it when he watches it. Patrick Sherwood says, it's not one of the best stories from that. Oh, sorry. I like it. It's not one of the best stories from that season, but I like it because of Tom Baker is amazing, as usual. And he says he's not a big fan of the cliffhanger to episode 1, though. I agree with you there. And he gives it an 8.5 out of 10. Not one of the best stories, he said, but he still likes it. I think he's kind of on the same page as me. Charlie Turner. Not bad, but it's very forgetful, he says. I'd often forgotten about this one. Not just the Tom Baker era, but Doctor Who as a whole. I give it a 5 out of 10 because of how average it really is. So, average. Matt Vernon, one of my favourite stories. I can watch it again and again. Always enjoy it. Mark Daniel Mooney, I've always liked it. It's no horror fan rock, but it's perfectly fine Baker gothic story.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, gothic treat. Gothic treat is a gothic treat. So a little bit mixed actually, but mostly positive. There's a few people there that find it a bit average. But yeah, mostly positive stuff.
Mostly positive. If you've got any friends who want to get into Classic Who and they said to you specifically, is there any creepy Doctor Who stories? Anything that's a borderline sort of scary, then point them that way towards the Fendal.
It is. The only thing I would say is it is slightly confusing. I'm glad I'm not alone in that. That was specifically episode 1.
Yes.
I did wonder what on earth was going on. But yeah, if you persevere with it, it's a good one.
So 7 from me, 7.5 from you. Next week, it's modern Doctor Who.
Back to modern.
11th Doctor. What have we got, mate?
So, The Girl Who Waited, we're going to do next week. Yeah, Matt Smith. And what else is in that? I can't remember. I seem to remember A Strange Garden from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, I can't remember much about it, but Girl Who Waited next week. So, that'll be interesting.
Yes, I haven't seen this one in ages.
No, nor have I. I can't remember. I just remember White Rooms. Yeah. Amy Gets Old, I think, at one point. I don't know. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to rewatching this one, actually. Yeah.
Handbots, I think.
The Handbots, yeah.
Haven't seen it in so long. It'd be good to watch it. Yeah.
Same.
Rightio. I think we'll do there for 177.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us and listening through 177. I hope you've had a cracking time going through all the news and the merch and our review and so on. Lots of interesting thoughts around the new logo and branding for Doctor Who. Yes, it'll be interesting to see how it gets used moving forward. I think you and I are in agreement here that it needs to be consistent and well used on everything.
Yeah, consistency is the key word there, I think.
The name of the game. Yes. But some interesting split opinions though. You like it, I don't. We'll see what happens as we get used to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, in the meantime, why don't you jump over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there, and you can link off to all the social stuff. So we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So give us a like and a follow, because we always chat Who in between the episodes during the week. So it'd be good to chat to you guys on there. Also, for listeners, if you want to give us a subscribe, we're on pretty much everything: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, other podcast networks. Just give us a search. We're on most of those. And if you're an iTunes listener, if you could spare a moment for a quick review and a rating, that would be amazing, because that does help us a lot. So very much appreciated to all those that have given reviews. Awesome source. Remember to check out Adam's channel. He runs the Geek's Handbag over on YouTube. So many good videos there. I say this every week, and I will continue to say it until he stops making videos. But there are so many good videos over there.
I think people think I haven't had time to film one recently, but go and have a look at the other stuff. Some good stuff on there.
Yeah, go and have a look. Loads of unboxings and reviews and merch guides and on-the-spot reviews and convention stuff. And
I loved it in the on-the-spot reviews, yeah.
Loads and loads of good stuff, so go and check him out. Next week, Modern Who, Matt Smith story, The Girl Who Waited. So get your DVDs or your Blu-rays out and get that watched. We'll put the usual Twitter poll and ask for your thoughts on that, and we'll go through that, which is good. Yeah. So until next time, for episode 178, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...